I want to start by asking you that, you've partnered with India for your two mega projects. What made you bet on the Indian companies and, what industrial capacities do you see in the country?
Well, our dealings with Indian company has actually gone back to 2003 when we started expanding our business in terms of cement. When we decided to do a 5 million tons, of cement, so we started with that and then cascaded into these mega projects of refinery, the fertilizer. So right now, if you recall, the last company that we use in detail engineering and EPCM project of the refinery and the petrochemical, we used EIL, Engineers India Limited, and they did a very, very great job. And we bought a lot of equipment from Indian companies. On the refinery, I think total we bought a little bit over $2.5 billion out of the entire project. But then other Indian companies also, they have the erection and fabrication contracts also, which they supply us with labor over maybe 10,000 workers. And that's part of this, and then the rest were Chinese and co. But the Indian companies really have done a very, very excellent, marvelous job, in terms of quality delivery, and that is why we're back here. So when you look at it right now, what we have launched today is not only the refinery and the petrochemical. We're taking the refinery.
The world is about to witness a historic business move unlike anything seen before. Nigeria's largest conglomerate is setting its sights on India, stepping onto one of the world's fastest growing and most competitive markets. This is more than expansion, it's a bold statement of ambition, strategy, and global influence. African industrial power is colliding with Asia's economic giants, reshaping trade, infrastructure, and markets across continents. As governments, investors, and industries scramble to respond, the question looms: can Africa as corporate titan succeed in one of the world's toughest business arenas and change global trade forever? The stage is set, the world is watching, and history is being made.
The world's business stage has just witnessed a monumental shift. Nigeria's largest conglomerate, known for dominating multiple sectors within the country, has set its ambitious gaze toward India, a rising economic powerhouse with one of the fastest-growing markets in the world. This move, announced subtly but with unmistakable gravity, signals a transformation not just in corporate strategy, but in the global economic order. From the bustling ports of Lagos to the high-tech industrial zones of India, corporate strategists and investors alike are scrambling to grasp the full magnitude of this development. The Dangote Group, already a dominant force in African industrial, manufacturing, and commodities markets, is stepping onto the Indian stage with projects, partnerships, and investments that could reshape trade flows, supply chains, and economic alliances across two continents. At the heart of this expansion is the recognition of India's market potential. With a population exceeding 1 billion, a rapidly industrializing economy, and rising technological infrastructure, India represents an opportunity unlike any other for foreign investors. The Dangote Group sees more than just a market. It sees a partner in mutual growth, a strategic gateway to the Asian economy, and a bridge connecting Africa and Asia in ways that could redefine trade, industry, and influence. Analysts have been quick to highlight the scale of the potential impact. Nigeria, already Africa's largest economy, stands to benefit not only from the increased revenue streams this partnership promises, but from the global prestige associated with operating in one of the world's most competitive business landscapes. Conversely, India gains a partner with extensive expertise in industrial scaling, infrastructure, and commodities, industries critical to sustaining its rapid urban and economic expansion. The announcement has set off a wave of speculation. Industry insiders suggest that the Dangote Group may pursue investments in multiple sectors simultaneously: cement and construction materials, energy production, logistics, and even food processing. Each sector carries the potential to create economic synergy, impacting supply chains across Africa and Asia. The mere possibility that one African conglomerate could rival existing players in India has sent shockwaves through corporate boardrooms from Mumbai to New Delhi, Lagos, and beyond. Trade experts note the broader implications. If Nigeria successfully establishes a foothold in India, it could shift the balance of trade in critical commodities, particularly cement, sugar, and energy products where the Dangote Group already maintains dominance. Indian markets, eager for reliable industrial partners and efficient supply chains, might welcome such an alliance. But competition is fierce, and the narrative unfolding is one of strategic maneuvering, a battle not fought with guns or tariffs, but with innovation, logistics mastery, and sheer economic ambition. The geopolitical ramifications are equally striking. Africa-Asia relations have grown stronger over the last decade, but this move signals a new level of partnership, one driven by corporate power rather than state agreements alone. Governments are watching closely. Nigerian officials are emphasizing the national importance of this international expansion, framing it as a step in Africa's march toward greater economic self-determination. Indian policymakers, meanwhile, are assessing how foreign conglomerates might complement domestic industry without undercutting local businesses. The delicate balance between openness and protectionism is at play, and every statement carries weight on the global stage. Investors around the world are recalculating risk and opportunity. Hedge funds, private equity groups, and multinational corporations are evaluating the potential for collaboration, competition, and disruption. The Dangote Group's track record of dominating markets through vertical integration, efficient logistics, and strategic alliances makes it a formidable player, capable of influencing pricing, production, and industrial norms. In India, where demand for infrastructure, energy, and consumer products is surging, the arrival of such a powerhouse could accelerate growth or upend established hierarchies. The cinematic drama of this corporate maneuver lies in its subtlety. No loud press conferences, no grandiose fanfare. Yet the impact is unmistakable. Whispers in boardrooms, urgent consultations among trade ministers, and late-night deliberations among economic analysts. The world is recognizing that Africa's industrial giants are no longer confined to their continent. They are global players, capable of shaping economies far beyond their borders, and this move toward India is the clearest demonstration yet. Logistics and supply chain planning are already underway. The Dangote Group is exploring massive infrastructure projects to support its expansion, including ports, transport networks, and storage facilities. These initiatives, if successful, could strengthen not only Nigeria's position but also the broader African trade ecosystem. Indian partners, meanwhile, are keen to leverage the efficiency and scale that the conglomerate brings, forming joint ventures that may become models for Africa-Asia collaboration for years to come. Markets are reacting in real time. Share prices, commodity futures, and corporate valuations are adjusting as investors anticipate the ripple effects of this move. The cement industry alone has seen significant speculation, as analysts predict, as the news of Nigeria's ambitious move reverberated across continents. Indian business circles sprang into action. The sheer scale of the potential investment sent waves of excitement, curiosity, and cautious evaluation. Unlike typical foreign investments, this was not a small market entry or a symbolic partnership. This was a Nigerian conglomerate aiming to compete with the largest industrial players in one of the world's most competitive economies. Boardrooms in Mumbai, Bengaluru, and Delhi buzzed with speculation. What sectors would the conglomerate target first? How would supply chains adjust? And could an African industrial titan truly navigate India's regulatory complexities and vast market nuances? The strategic timing of the move was critical. India, experiencing unprecedented urban expansion, infrastructural demand, and industrial modernization, was an ideal stage for ambitious foreign ventures. The Dangote Group, with its deep experience in cement, sugar, energy, and logistics, had the tools and vision to not just participate in the market, but to alter it. Analysts noted that this expansion could accelerate infrastructure projects, optimize industrial supply chains, and even influence pricing in key commodities across Asia. Economic forums quickly began discussing the implications. Financial commentators highlighted that Nigerian conglomerates operating abroad were historically seen as regional players at best. But with India in their sights, the narrative was shifting dramatically. Africa was emerging as a global economic actor. Markets in London, New York, and Singapore responded almost instantly as investors and analysts recalibrated growth expectations, potential trade flows, and the strategic weight of Nigeria as a business power. The competitive landscape in India was intense. Local conglomerates, already operating in cement, energy, and logistics, were watching with wary eyes. Some welcomed the collaboration, seeing opportunities for joint ventures, knowledge exchange, and enhanced production efficiencies. Others viewed it as direct competition, threatening to upend traditional market hierarchies. The drama was palpable: Africa versus Asia, emerging industrial power versus established markets, ambition against entrenched dominance. India's government, too, was watching closely. While foreign investment was welcomed, regulators needed to ensure compliance with local laws, labor regulations, and industry standards. Officials deliberated quietly, aware that the implications extended beyond mere economics. Successful collaboration could strengthen Africa-Asia ties, boost employment, and accelerate technological transfer. Yet missteps could provoke nationalistic backlash or stir tensions in already sensitive industrial sectors. Every decision, every consultation, was measured with precision and strategy. Meanwhile, Nigeria's message was clear and deliberate. Officials emphasized the national importance of this expansion, framing it as a demonstration of African industrial capability, global ambition, and strategic foresight. The move was not just corporate, it was geopolitical. By establishing a foothold in India, Nigeria was signaling that African businesses were capable of operating on the global stage, influencing trade flows, and partnering with the world's fastest-growing economies. The market response was immediate. Commodity prices, particularly cement and sugar, experienced subtle but noticeable shifts as traders speculated on the potential for new supply chains and industrial efficiencies. Energy markets also reacted, given that power production and fuel logistics were likely to be part of the expansion strategy. Analysts highlighted that the ripple effect could span multiple sectors. Logistics companies, construction firms, and industrial suppliers might all see dramatic impacts depending on how the Nigerian conglomerate structured its operations. Corporate observers marveled at the scale of the move. Vertical integration, one of the Dangote Group's core strategies, could transform the way Indian infrastructure projects sourced materials. Cement production in India, traditionally dominated by a few major players, could experience increased competition. Shipping and logistics networks might expand to accommodate cross-continental operations, potentially reducing costs for large-scale industrial projects. The narrative unfolding was one of disruption, anticipation, and high-stakes competition. The suspense extended beyond economics into geopolitics. Africa-Asia relations had already been evolving over the past decade, with trade, technology, and cultural exchanges growing rapidly. But this corporate move represented something more dynamic: private enterprise driving geopolitical influence. Governments and policymakers in both Nigeria and India understood that successful industrial partnerships could enhance diplomatic ties, strengthen trade agreements, and even serve as models for future collaboration between continents. Global investors recognized the symbolism immediately. African businesses, long considered regional actors, were now engaging with one of the world's largest economies. This was no mere expansion. It was a declaration of capability, ambition, and strategic intent. Stock analysts speculated on ripple effects for multinational corporations, predicting potential partnerships, joint ventures, and even acquisitions. The excitement was palpable. Nigeria was no longer just exporting raw commodities. It was exporting industrial expertise, operational mastery, and strategic influence. Within India, industry leaders debated strategy. Should they embrace collaboration, leveraging Africa's industrial efficiency to meet domestic demand? Or should they compete aggressively, protecting market share and existing supply chains? Conferences and business forums became arenas for debate as economic leaders analyzed potential outcomes, market risks, and the transformative power of a cross-continental industrial player entering the scene. From a cinematic perspective, the drama unfolded like a geopolitical thriller. Visualize boardrooms lit by glowing screens, tracking global supply chains. Financial analysts discussing projected revenues while investors' eyes darted between Lagos and Mumbai. Logistics teams mapping routes for shipments spanning thousands of kilometers. Governments deliberating regulatory nuances, knowing that every decision could influence the global economic balance. This was high stakes, high impact, and the world was watching. Trade experts emphasized the broader consequences. By establishing a significant presence in India, the Nigerian conglomerate could influence pricing, supply, and demand in multiple sectors. Cement for infrastructure, energy production for manufacturing, and sugar for food processing were just a few examples. The potential for efficiency gains, cost reductions, and improved market coordination was enormous, and competitors were keenly aware of it. The story gained international attention. News outlets across Europe, Asia, and the Americas reported on the move with both admiration and caution. Editorials highlighted Africa's rising global influence, the entrepreneurial spirit of its largest conglomerates, and the strategic foresight required to navigate markets as complex as India. Analysts pointed out that this could mark the beginning of a new era of Africa-Asia corporate partnerships, shifting traditional trade flows and redefining industrial competition. Public perception was equally compelling. Citizens and commentators across Nigeria celebrated the move as a triumph of African ambition and capability. In India, curiosity and excitement mixed with scrutiny. The narrative was no longer confined to business pages. It became a story of continental pride, ambition, and the evolving dynamics of global trade. Social media exploded with discussion, creating a narrative that combined economic potential with cinematic drama. The potential ripple effects were staggering. African exports could increase in value, Indian infrastructure projects could accelerate, and cross-continental knowledge transfer could introduce new standards of efficiency and industrial scale. Beyond commerce, the move could, as the narrative unfolded, the world realized that this was not a temporary ripple, but a wave with the potential to reshape industries, markets, and geopolitical relationships. Every continent was watching. Europe analyzed the ripple effects on global trade. Asia monitored the operational and competitive dynamics in its largest emerging economy, and Africa witnessed its most ambitious corporate story yet. Within India, industrial analysts projected the scale of potential disruption. The Dangote Group's entry could accelerate construction timelines, influence material pricing, and introduce efficiencies in logistics that had previously been unimaginable. Ports in Mumbai and Chennai were being evaluated for expansion to accommodate shipments. Energy networks were scrutinized for capacity to meet industrial demands. Each decision had cascading implications, with trade negotiators and corporate planners running scenarios around the clock. The suspense was palpable. Indian conglomerates faced a critical choice: collaborate with the Nigerian powerhouse to leverage efficiencies and global connections, or compete fiercely to maintain domestic dominance. Either path carried risk and reward. The media framed it as a high-stakes chess match, industrial strategy intertwined with national pride, corporate ambition entangled with diplomacy. Headlines around the world screamed about Africa's new industrial power, about the continent stepping out of the shadows and onto the global stage with a confidence that few predicted. Meanwhile, African markets buzzed with anticipation. The Dangote Group's success in India was seen as a template for continental empowerment, proof that African corporations could compete, innovate, and influence global markets. The symbolic weight was enormous. Decades of being perceived as regional players were giving way to a reality where African conglomerates were shaping global supply chains, creating cross-continental partnerships, and challenging traditional power hierarchies. Trade experts highlighted the scale of economic impact. Cement alone was expected to see dramatic changes in pricing, distribution, and competition. Energy supply chains could gain efficiency from cross-continental collaboration. Industrial commodities, already significant for African exports, might see shifts in global trade patterns. Even ancillary industries, from logistics and storage to technology and staffing, would be affected. This wasn't incremental growth. This was transformation at scale. The geopolitical dimension added even more tension. Africa-Asia relations were entering a new phase, driven not by treaties or aid, but by private enterprise and corporate power. Governments recognized that this collaboration could enhance diplomatic influence, strengthen economic ties, and shift global alliances. India's policymakers acknowledged that balancing domestic industrial interests with foreign collaboration was delicate but necessary for long-term strategic growth. In the global financial hubs, analysts ran models predicting the potential effects on international investments. The entry of a major African industrial player into India's market was unprecedented. Multinational corporations evaluated partnership opportunities, mergers, and acquisitions. Private equity and hedge funds recalculated risk exposure and potential profit margins. The world was treating this as a historic pivot point, a convergence of African ambition and Asian opportunity that had the potential to reshape global industrial dynamics. Every logistical detail became a part of the drama. Supply routes spanning thousands of kilometers, customs regulations, energy coordination, and workforce planning all became strategic points of anticipation. Analysts described it as a high-stakes industrial ballet, where timing, efficiency, and precision could determine success or failure. A misstep could reverberate across continents, but flawless execution could establish a new benchmark for Africa-Asia collaboration. The narrative captured the public imagination. Social media and news outlets buzzed with speculation and excitement. Infographics mapped the routes of trade, visualizations showed projected industrial capacities, and commentators debated the cultural and economic implications. The story was no longer confined to financial pages. It became a cinematic tale of ambition, strategy, and continental pride. India, too, was aware that this collaboration could set precedents for foreign industrial investment. By carefully balancing regulation, market access, and strategic partnerships, India could benefit from efficiency gains, infrastructure expansion, and industrial scaling without compromising domestic enterprise. Policymakers and corporate advisors engaged in a delicate dance, supporting cross-continental growth while protecting local markets, all under the world's gaze. Markets continued to respond. Commodity futures, shipping logistics, energy projections, and industrial forecasts were recalibrated in real time. Investors, analysts, and corporate boards held emergency consultations. The entry of Nigeria's conglomerate was not a minor event. It was a potential game changer, capable of shifting industrial influence, altering trade flows, and setting the stage for future Africa-Asia collaborations. As suspense mounted, the human dimension added depth. Jobs could be created, technical expertise exchanged, and managerial talent developed across continents. African engineers, managers, and industrial specialists were poised to work alongside Indian counterparts, fostering cross-cultural knowledge transfer. This was not just economics. It was global cooperation, industrial diplomacy, and capacity building on a monumental scale. Political analysts noted the symbolic weight. For decades, African businesses were seen as regional actors. This bold expansion into one of the world's largest markets was a declaration. Africa could operate globally, influence markets, and compete with established players on an equal footing. This was a dramatic shift in perception, signaling the continent's readiness to play at the highest level. The suspense reached a climax as rumors of potential contracts and project sites circulated. Shipping logistics, construction materials, energy infrastructure, and food processing facilities became topics of speculation. Analysts and investors weighed the consequences, projecting industrial dominance, pricing strategies, and supply chain efficiencies. Every rumor, every leak, every strategic hint intensified the global narrative. This was historic, cinematic, and transformative. Corporate strategists emphasized vertical integration as a key advantage. The conglomerate's ability to control multiple stages of production, from raw materials to finished products, allowed it to operate efficiently, reduce costs, and compete fiercely in new markets. In India, this capacity posed a challenge to entrenched competitors while providing opportunities for collaboration and joint ventures. The suspense of market positioning kept analysts, investors, and governments on edge. Across Africa, the narrative fueled pride and optimism. Governments highlighted the move as proof that African businesses could engage at the highest levels, create cross-continental value, and redefine global perceptions. Investors and industrial leaders began examining similar strategies, envisioning future partnerships, expansions, and strategic collaborations beyond traditional markets. In India, the response was strategic. Policymakers encouraged collaboration while maintaining safeguards for local industry. Private sector leaders weighed joint ventures, partnerships, and competitive strategies. Industrial corridors, energy grids, and infrastructure hubs were evaluated for capacity, logistics, and integration with Nigerian operations. The suspense remained high as global observers tracked every announcement and decision. The global narrative solidified. Nigeria's Dangote Group was no longer a regional powerhouse. It was a global player capable of reshaping markets, influencing trade, and demonstrating industrial excellence. India became the proving ground, a stage where African ambition met Asian opportunity. Governments, investors, and analysts alike recognized the implications. This was a new era of Africa-Asia partnership, with potential impacts across economics, geopolitics, and industry. The drama, cinematic and suspenseful, captured imaginations worldwide. Visualizations of trade routes, industrial hubs, and market flows filled media outlets. Analysts debated potential revenue streams, market disruption, and strategic gains. Social platforms buzzed with speculation, anticipation, and excitement. Every development was scrutinized as a step toward global transformation. Ultimately, the significance of this move cannot be overstated. Nigeria's conglomerate was asserting that African businesses could operate globally, influence markets, and engage in high-stakes industrial strategy. India, with its size, complexity, and opportunity, became both partner and proving ground. Together, the continents demonstrated the power of strategic ambition, collaboration, and industrial foresight. The story concluded with a historic resonance. This was not merely an expansion. It was a milestone in global business, a testament to African industrial capacity, and a narrative that would inspire generations of entrepreneurs, investors, and politicians.